Tucker saw no point in being quiet about this. He hit his head hard enough, he thought maybe he heard angels singing, or birds tweeting, or maybe both, or neither. The bear roared above the music as Tucker kept on falling. Finally, he slammed into level ground and stopped, sprawled flat on his back. He flickered his eyes open, knowing he had to get up and run. The bear was bound to still be coming. His blurred vision filled with a cap of dark curls and the prettiest blue eyes he'd ever seen. Well, no, not ever, because he'd seen them before, on the roof of Aaron and Kylie Masterson's cabin. He wanted to just lie there and look forever. And then that dratted bear roared, and those blue eyes, looking at him all worried, turned uphill and changed from a look of concern to one of horror. The pretty little gal reached down, grabbed Tucker by the front of his shirt, and hauled him upright. What was she going to do? Throw him over her shoulder and run? He didn't think that was going to work. He was about 6 inches taller and outweighed her by 100 pounds. But Mama Grizz was coming, so someone was going to have to do something. They couldn't stay here, and Tucker wasn't sure he was up to moving. Of course, he'd only had about 2 seconds to think about it. He hadn't really tried. "Hang on!" She shoved him backward, clinging so tight it was like he'd gotten a second pack hooked on. She screamed. They flew. There was no more rolling, no more aspens, no more rocks. They soared. Tucker saw the walls of the cliff rushing past and knew where they were. Worse yet, he knew where they were going to land. Are you crazy? They were falling to almost certain death. He'd just been killed by a woman as crazy as he was. Well, he wasn't killed yet, but it was only a few minutes ahead of them. The bear roared overhead. The dark-curled madwoman shouted, "I hope Bailey's not too stubborn to tend my sheep." "I hate sheep." They hit the water so hard, it was like slamming into granite. The water took over trying to kill him, as it swept him forward, pulled him under, and slammed him into a wall, all at the same time, then threw him over another cliff. That was what he'd recognized on the way down. The Shoshone called it Slaughter River. Those little dark curls that had him so curious, and the woman they were attached to, had just thrown him into the worst stretch of water, maybe in the whole Rocky Mountains. What did Tucker know? Maybe in the whole world. A stretch of river so wild, Tucker had never heard of anyone riding through it alive, though he'd heard of a few dead bodies being fished out on the far end. They hit the boiling foam at the bottom of the waterfall, the first of 7, each one worse than the one before. Tucker had thought about those curls and had a few confused dreams, especially since Kylie, Aaron Masterson's wife, had said the 2 folks Tucker had seen were her brothers. Tucker had known plenty of liars in his day. Mountain men weren't afraid of making a story better by wandering clear of the facts. So just because a real nice woman like Kylie Masterson said a woman was her brother didn't mean much to Tucker when he was staring straight at a pretty woman. But it did make him wonder what was going on. And right now, whoever this was, clinging like the little leech a man found sucked onto his leg from time to time, was no one's brother. She had curves that made that undeniable. And the way she'd squeaked in a girly voice, well, he was being held, and held tight, by a woman. If he had just a bit of spare time, he'd go right ahead and enjoy it. No time for much enjoying, unfortunately. But if he lived, which common sense told him he wasn't going to do, he'd fit that in later, since he wasn't going to make that escape to the mountains he had planned. All he could do now was hang on right back and try to keep them both alive, which he very much doubted he could do. He grabbed the whip he kept on his belt and lashed them together. It seemed like the gentlemanly thing to do.